What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to another episode of Psychologically Gaming, where today we are going to be focusing on Joel from The Last of Us. There's so much psychology, I don't even know where to start. I looked up some things I'm going to be putting in the video to explain what all Joel has, and there's a lot to unpack there. Starting off, I don't even know where I should start off. Where should I even start off? Okay, I'm gonna start off with PTSD because there's a lot of PTSD going on there. There will be a definition here of what PTSD actually is, and it is a mental health condition that develops following a traumatic event characterized by intrusive thoughts about the incident, reoccurring distress, anxiety, flashbacks, and avoidance of similar situations. Now, throughout the game, Joel has a tendency to pick people to care about. Whether he's doing this consciously or subconsciously doesn't matter. It's just the fact that he is doing it because he lost Sarah, which, by the way, I'm going to put in the title actually, now that I just think of this, that there is going to be massive spoilers. So if you have not played The Last of Us, please refrain from watching this because there are going to be major spoilers, as there will be in the review that I have coming out next week. The fact of the matter is that since he did lose Sarah when she was at such a young age, I believe she was 12 when she did die, he was married fairly young from what I'm assuming, because there is no speak of his wife at all. I mean, there was no talk of it. There was just, a single father who was raising his 12-year-old daughter. And you have throughout the game, you have all of these examples of where he has different reoccurring themes of PTSD, of where he has stress, he has anxiety, he has different forms of even moments where he's scared for Ellie, just the way he is scared for Sarah, and different parts of where, like I said before, he's choosing people to get attached to, consciously or subconsciously. Again, we don't know this, but he is choosing people to get attached to, like Tess, like Marlene to an extent. Marlene's a very interesting character. I might do a whole dedicated Psychologically Gaming episode to her as well, but it's the same with Marlene. Now, Marlene is part of the Fireflies, and while it's a very brief exchange, to an extent, there are only two instances of where they actually interact. One where he's taking the cargo, which is Ellie, and one where he actually comes towards the end of the game where he meets the Fireflies. He meets up with her again, and he shoots her at the end of the game because he doesn't want her to come looking for Ellie. Yet he believed and trusted her throughout the entire game that he was doing this for Ellie's best interest, while not knowing pretty much anything about her until Ellie told him that, hey, I can't be infected. I am immune to this infection. So that's just a little bit of the PTSD that we have going on over here, because whenever, even when he's hanging out with Ellie just on their own, there are some instances of where, like, a memory will resurface after he's given the picture of him and his daughter. And he said, well, it was towards the end of the game, and he said, I guess you can't really run away from your past, or something to that extent. He has resurfacing memories of that. That's why he denied the picture at first whenever Tommy gave it to him, but he doesn't deny whenever Ellie gives it to him, because he has an attachment for Ellie, and he was trying to literally run away from his past because he has an anxiety response whenever he sees a picture of her. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to be reminded of this. It's a trigger, basically. Now, the next thing is a little more of a common theme between all of the characters that are in The Last of Us, and I'm assuming in the second game as well, is survivor's guilt. Now, it states here, survivor's guilt is a condition of persistent mental and emotional stress experienced by someone who has survived an incident in which others have died. Now, this is very common, for example, real world example, if someone has survived a plane crash, but everyone else died. It's one of those things of where, why didn't I die? Why didn't it happen to me, kind of thing? Why did I survive and everyone else didn't? It's the same principle here of where, Joel has survivor's guilt. He is upset at himself for surviving and, outliving his daughter to an extent. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Your kids are supposed to outlive the parents. And that carries a tremendous amount of guilt for a parent. It carries a tremendous amount of guilt for Joel in this game. And he even stated at the end of the game, you have to find things to keep fighting for, to find that are worth fighting for. And that's the way that you kind of overcome, to an extent, your survivor's guilt. Besides therapy, everyone should see a therapist, just my opinion. So lastly on Joel's mental list is attachment theory. what do I mean by attachment theory? So it states here, attachment theory. British psychologist John Bowlby was the first attachment theorist, describing an attachment theory as a lasting psychological connectiveness between human beings. Now this also goes back to Joel getting attached and being protective over every person he meets, including the person who is trying to kind of not kill, but like end the life of Ellie in order to save the lives of millions. You know, thing. Marlene, one of those people. This is something that we see, referencing back to the point that I make earlier in the video about Joel trying to be protective about everybody that he meets. We see this in every person he comes in contact with. His brother Tommy, Marlene, Tess, Ellie especially, because she is the daughter figure that he wanted to have. We see him even calling her a baby girl towards the end of the game because he's let down his guard enough and he understands Ellie's, Ellie's personality and what her motive is. And they both have this connectiveness. Even at the end, he said, I think my daughter Sarah would really enjoy hanging out with you. I think you two would have made really good friends. He's starting to talk about her. He's starting to open up. And this is attachment theory because, to an extent, because he's becoming more and more attached to the person. And in this world, in this universe of The Last of Us, there really is no such thing as lasting friendships or relationships because everybody dies anyway. But to go a little deeper into what attachment theory really is an emotional bond with another person. Bowlby believed that the earliest bonds formed by children with their caregivers have tremendous impact that continues throughout life. He suggested that attachment also serves to keep the infant close to the mother, thus improving the child's chances of survival. So that connectiveness that we see between Joel and Ellie is part of attachment theory. That connectiveness that we see between Ellie and Marlene, that's part of attachment theory as well, because Marlene knew Ellie since she was a baby. She knew her since she was a baby and therefore is connected to her even more so, which kind of lends to a very, self-serving, very selfish motive on Marlene's part of why she's so willing to let Ellie go and die for the cause of millions, which I don't mind that. It's interesting, and I'll get into my opinion more so in the article that I write, but I really honestly think that, Joel should not have shot the doctor. He should have let the doctor do a surgery and then make a treatment for the virus. That's just my thoughts. I honestly think that one life for millions, that's a very, very... It's a heavy cost, but it's something of where if she's the only one that can save everybody, you should do it. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. A lot of people are going to be like, it's a child. You shouldn't do that to a child. But if you think about it realistically, and that's what we do with these episodes, we have to think of these things logically and realistically. What would you do? What would you do if you were faced with that situation of where you had the only person in the entire world could save millions of people? I want to know down in the comments below, what would you guys do? What would you guys do in that situation? Would you guys let that person be the thing that saves everybody? Or would you say no, be the person that says, no, I'm going to let this person that I care about be the cure, be the answer for everything? Or I would selfishly hold on to this person because I love them, because I care about them, and because I don't want them to die. There's still going to be things happening that you don't want to happen, but I digress. We're talking about Joel. I just thought I'd bring that up because I know people are going to bitch at me for the fact that I say don't save Ellie. Just to recap what we know now about Joel, we know he has PTSD. We know he has survivor's guilt. We know that in attachment theory, he attaches himself to people so he can basically secure them in this warm blanket of his own emotions, which is kind of distant and nihilistic to an extent, but he still wraps them in a blanket of emotion. He's a very, very distant person. He doesn't really know how to showcase emotion that well, but when he showcases emotion, he really is a very overly protective person. That's for sure. So, but yeah, if you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell down below because I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Also, I know someone's gonna come at me for wearing the same thing in 2 videos this week. Listen, okay, I'm an outfit repeater sometimes because I film and I forget to change my outfit during the massive amounts of videos that I will film during one day. So don't come at me, all right? But stay casually nerdy, you guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.